Well, we picked up right where we left off last night, back at the rose ceremony, right after it looked like Sarah was about to pass out. So the rose ceremony goes on hiatus for a little bit. Matt spends some time with Sarah, make sure everything's okay, and then we get back to finishing the rose ceremony. And it really felt anticlimactic to me, like they'd for the end of the rose ceremony, because like we'd already seen Victoria in the previews, so we knew she was going to get the rose, and the whole rose ceremony was coming down to Victoria versus Marilyn. And of course, Victoria gets the rose, and Marilyn goes home along with some other ladies who, in the moment, I couldn't even remember their names. So they obviously weren't that important. So all that build up felt like a little bit of a letdown today. Beyond that, really, it didn't feel like much happened this date. I don't know how anybody else feels. We had one good one-on-one date, an okay group date, and then the drama with Sarah. And overall, that just didn't feel like very much to me. We, like last week, getting to seeing the two full one-on-ones and a group date and everything that went on in the house just felt like a lot more. I don't know. It almost felt like a condensed episode tonight. But anyways, let's get into the rest of the episode and see what all went down. The group date. So we had a pretty good sized group date that involved the ladies writing some erotica or romantic fiction, if you will, about Matt, and then reading it in front of the entire house. It was kind of interesting. Things we learned on the date: Victoria's still terrible. She's still just a terrible human being. Will continue to be a terrible human being. The best line of the whole night was chocolate cake. I think that was Matt too. So it was just kind of interesting. I kind of had a little chuckle there. Katie, she really went in deep on the erotica. Seemed like she went way further than a lot of the other ladies, but didn't get raunchy and disgusting like Victoria did. So then we head off to the night portion of the date, where all our women are supposed to get some one-on-one time with Matt. Unfortunately for most of them, the date gets interrupted by Sarah, who decides that she needs to talk to Matt, and interrupts Katie, talks to Matt, and from there, the entire episode is derailed. I really don't understand the behavior of the other women. I just really don't. And I think that is a byproduct of having the younger cast. Like, look at how horrible, absolutely horrible, some of these women treated Sarah today. Like, it's just reprehensible. Like, that is something that they will have linger over them for the rest of their lives. Like, that is their behavior in the moments that were aired today is something that's going to just follow them around forever. Like, there's no take backsies. You can't undo that. Like, if you were just horrible to her, that's that. That is what happened. That is the way you behaved. That's what went down. And the end result is Sarah ending up going home. But anyways, we'll get back to that a little bit more at the end of the episode. So the date does continue. I would say probably it looked like about half the women did not get time with Matt. You can't blame that entirely on the interruption, but that is how things played out. And, two of the women who got time first, Rachel and Bree, they're the two people who end up sticking out the most on the date, and Rachel gets the rose. Really felt like a non-event in terms of the episode, because this really devolved into all about the Sarah drama. But let's get through the Serena P date, and then we'll get back to that. All right, so Serena P, she gets her one-on-one date, and I would say it went very, very, very well. You compare this to Bree and Serena P, or even Sarah. I think this was the best date that we've seen Matt go on so far. It really looked like they were clicking together. They were really bonding. And I think that Serena P has to come out of this as one of the favorites now. You know, a lot of these early dates in every single season, those people who get the first one-on-ones end up being the favorites throughout the season, and tonight was no exception. The donkeys were super cute. Even after the end of the episode, they showed some more donkeys, still super cute. And of course, Serena P leaves the date with the rose. All right, now back to the drama. I don't understand how quickly the whole house just turned into a group of mean girls. And you look at all those ringleaders: Victoria, MJ, I think Maury was in on it too. I had one other name and I'm forgetting now, Kit. And anyone who was really attacking Sarah in these moments, like, those are all people who are not going to factor in at the end of this. All of that behavior is going to come to light, and they're all going to go home. And as I said earlier, this is just a case of maturity. This is what happens when you have immature, younger people on the show. You know, you want to fuel the drama. Well, great job. You fueled the drama, and we got to watch those horrible scenes. You know, production let all of that happen, and the things that people were saying to Sarah over interrupting a date, over spending 15 minutes with Matt. And on top of it, Sarah apologized on the date. Sarah came back out and apologized later. And you have people saying, like, you're dead to me. I don't want anything to do with you. And just telling her to go home and this and that. Just awful. And when Katie actually takes the time to go and talk to Sarah to realize, you know, what she's been going through at home with her family and her father, who does not have long to live, and how heavy everything is weighing on her, just sort of illuminates just how horrific everyone's behavior was. It absolutely disgusted me, and the sooner that we can get people like Victoria and MJ, I think they were the two most vile that I recall, out of the house, the better. You know, I wouldn't wish my worst enemy having to spend their lives with either of those two women, because that behavior, atrocious. You know, Victoria is at the top of that list, and her behavior just continues to disgust me this whole season, and I'm sure it will until she goes home. And I really hope some of the women start to stand up to her and quit letting her just be horrible. Just be horrible to everybody. Like, nobody stood up when she called out Mary Lynn for absolutely nothing. You know, got her sent home. How she starts targeting Sarah. And, you know, who's next? Who's next on Victoria's list? And who's going to stand there and just let it happen? So, in the end, Sarah decides to remove herself from the show, sends herself home. You gotta feel bad for Sarah. Also feel bad for Matt, because there was a real connection there, and one of the stronger connections in the house, and now she is gone. So that is it for me this week. A group date, one-on-one date, and drama that should have never gone to the level that it did. So that's going to be it for me this week. Not as upbeat and cheery as normal, but I don't think that this episode warrants that kind of attitude. And hopefully things get a little bit better next week, when looks like we'll be getting some new women in the house, and hopefully soon things start to get a lot more serious as we weed out the dead weight from the show. So I will be back again next week, and as always, thank you.